And where do you think prototyping, we've talked about prototyping, obviously we're huge fans of it, and we're huge fans of our listeners being able to do it themselves, whether they go take something that already exists and they chop it up and make it, or they make it out of cardboard, right? Because the whole goal is to like, see it, to understand it, and to hopefully be able to test it. Where do you think that it fits in the whole scheme of inventing?
Yeah, it can be early. So it can be early, like, let's say you don't have the resources to, create a new type of HVAC unit in your house. We can help with that. But for the most part, it's you've ironed out most of your physical prototype. You've done some of the work to at least know a basic design. You come to us and we'll refine it and we'll make it actually engineered.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
And when you say engineered, so I have my idea. It's on a napkin. I give you a call and I'm like, this is my idea. I need to come up with a physical something of it. That's where you guys step in?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you just have it on a napkin, we can absolutely just physically prototype it from there.
Well, look, you guys are jumping right into it really fast. Let's give some background.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So first of all, episode 18, if you've been following along on the podcast, we were big advocates for you have an idea, build a prototype. Cut it out of cardboard, whittle it out of a piece of wood. We don't care what you do, but get something tangible to show your wife, your friend, your partner, your mom and dad, so that you can kind of start to see if this idea has legs. Now, not long after in the process, you're going to be thinking about manufacturing. So if you go back to episode probably 4 or 5, we talk about how to nail manufacturing, how to communicate right. Well, that manufacturer is going to want bona fide drawings and bona fide 3D imagery, if you will. So there's several programs you could choose to use and learn. I myself downloaded a free license to Fusion 360. I lied and said I was a student at Yale. I'm pretty proud of that. And I got the software and I played with it for probably 2 or 3 weeks, really to no avail. I mean,
I did the same thing. I think the exact same program, and it's being okay at something and being good enough to actually make something that you need, two totally different things.
Yeah, for sure. So that's your option for building something. Now, my invention was pretty straightforward. It was a strap. It didn't have a shell. It didn't have moving parts. Certainly didn't have electronics. But somebody listening might have something a little bit more complex that they just simply have no idea where to start. And even if they finally learned the software, they don't really know what really works in the world of manufacturing and what doesn't. A circle is a circle. It doesn't act as a square. A screw only turns one way. Piss poor examples, but what I'm getting at is that's where Volcreate steps in from my perspective. So first of all, when did you and your partner develop Volcreate and why? What was the goal?
Yeah, so it officially hasn't been that long. It's been less than a year. The goal was to help inventors foremost. I'm not a technical person, so I would go to my friend. I mean, it started a little bit back from that, but in essence, I would go to my friend, who's my co-founder, say, "Hey, can you make this for me?" Be like, yeah, absolutely. And I have all these ideas on what I want made, and we were just kind of like, yeah, I think this is actually a really good business model. If we can serve as the technical arm for people that have no real technical skill.
And when you say make, was he whittling it out of wood, or what was he make, or what would he say he could make and how?
Making as in modeling, typically. Okay. So modeling, engineering it in the model, and then physically.
Virtually and then physical?
Yeah, okay. And then physical. Some of them we didn't go through with physical.
Sure. Why waste your time?
Yeah, it wasn't we learned quickly that, it's not really, I had, ideas are a dime a dozen.
Sure.
I had a ton of them.
I'm glad you said that. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So you had the idea and then you thought, well, let's just jump off the diving board and start a company. What was it?
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Great.
Not far off.
Yeah.
I had experience before that. I was a director of operations for a software startup. I had experience in, I ran short-term rentals. So I had experience with what it takes to run a business. But yeah, I mean, it's not
And
far off.
did you feel that there was more need than you thought there would be for your service? Like coming off the bat, you're like, oh, we've got this thing and there's inventors, but how many inventors are there and how many people have ideas?
Yeah, so it's a tough question. Our market wasn't exactly where we thought it was. Initially going into it, it's probably on our business plan, is like everyone has an idea, and everyone would love this,
Of course.
Which is not how it panned out.
Well, it's our business plan too. Everybody would listen to this.
No, and then, people are, it's hard to target people that are early on. And a lot of them kind of get sucked into things that aren't engineering their product.
So what you're saying is fresh off the boat, people with an idea are actually, you need or want people to be at least a little bit further on before they come to you, because if they come to you at that early stage, then there's not much you can help them with.
Typically, but
people who have an idea, what do they need? What do they have to have together before they even think about it and approaching you, but being ready for that?
I think first and foremost, an understanding of, at least some understanding of what it's going to take. You're not just going to make this thing and then get it licensed and it's going to be cheaper. That's just not what's going to happen.
Correct.
It just doesn't happen.
Correct.
And a lot of them are at that point.
Or they're at that understanding.
That understanding, yep.
Sure.
And we're not willing to help them because, and what I mean by that is we're not going to take money from them when they're that early.
I respect
it.
That.
It just doesn't make moral sense, and it doesn't make sense. It's too difficult.
Do you find that a lot of people call you and they're just really, really lost and they kind of want 2 hours of your time to help them start the whole process, and that's just not what you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So basically they're looking for a consultant.
Yeah. And there's a lot of free resources, and the people that look for consultants sometimes pay a lot for that service, right? That's where a lot of the people that are fresh off the boat that kind of go more towards consulting, and they can pay a lot for just some more basic services,
right? To be handheld, right?
Yeah. To be handheld and spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked briefly, and we should talk more about there's a lot of places that you can spend money in the beginning, and there are a lot of wrong places to spend money in the beginning, and some of them aren't even wrong, but they're just not a good first step. So if you're strapped for cash, you're not going to go blow 10 grand on somebody to tell you should go get a patent or whatever it may be, right? So kind of what are your opinions of things like the classes that you can take, the inventing, we'll hold your hand and we'll do this for you?
So me personally, I'm not structured for it at all. The vast majority of people, I think, would be better off spending money on something else and getting education for free, trial by fire, researching things, going out into the world and doing things. The courses could help. I don't know the statistics, right? I don't know how many people the things like that help. Depends on the price point too, right? If you're spending thousands on courses, do I think that's the best way to spend money? Absolutely not. Do I think it's one of the worst? Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You brought up earlier, Grant, that is like there are some people who need to spend money to take whatever they're hearing seriously.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I mean, basically, it's skin in the game, right?
Yep.
Blake, you said it best. Certain people, I mean, I'm one of them. Whenever I want to go to the gym, it's not enough for me to sign up at LA Fitness for $40 a month. Then I have to go to GNC and I have to spend $150 on supplements that make my fart smell really bad. And now I'm going to get in shape because I'm invested. And it's important to charge people sometimes because that's the only way you can help them. That's the only way you can help them. I repeated that for a reason, because your goal is always to help people, but unfortunately, free is free, right? I don't take samples at the grocery store because it's free and I don't need that. But I'll buy a whole box for $4.98. That's just, I don't know. It's a hard thing to explain, but it's a very real thing. Sometimes courses are great. And if that course provides value and you do get your money's worth, then I'm all for it. The thing is, it's never one course. It's never one and done. 90% of this is on you. Just like you're going to be the only one who truly believes in your invention, you're the only one who can truly bring yourself from A to Z. Because people are going to hold your hand in stages, but much like stages of a religion I probably won't name, is it kind of never ends, these stages, until you grab a hold of your life.
And I feel like those people tend to have a tie-in to things like, oh, it's time for patenting. Well, use our patent attorney. Oh, it's time for this. Use our person. And you're so wrapped up into, their world that you're not really thinking outside of the box, or you're not shopping around or seeing who would best suit you. You're just kind of being led through that thing.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah. And I don't want to knock it as a whole. I'm sure there's a good thing. I'm sure that they've helped people. I guess the problem for me is that I have a bias, right? I have an intrinsic bias. I hear the bad stories, right? Of where the upsell of the course. The course is, hey, you don't actually need to really design anything yet. Have this basic idea, put it onto paper, we'll get a patent for it. We'll do a provisional patent application, we'll do a USPTO search, and they charge a lot for it. Well,
people are real patent pushers, I think, in the beginning. And we've talked about that. And yes, patents are valuable at some point.
Yeah.
They just don't stop what you're doing and don't spend a ton of money right in the beginning when you don't even have something fleshed out properly. Yeah. You might go through another 10 iterations of what you're doing and your patent is almost a moot point because it's not the same or whatever it is.
Absolutely. And, and a lot of the times it's their whole budget.
Yeah.
So...
Let's break things down to even more simple. We've told people kind of what you do, but explain what it is. Like, what is 3D modeling? What is those?
So 3D modeling is broad in a sense. 3D modeling can be in our sense of what 3D modeling is. It's basically taking your product in a software, creating your product in a software in a 3-dimensional form, and you can do different things with that 3-dimensional form. You can 3D print it. You can then take it and make photorealistic catalog images for it. You can make video simulations for it, and that's where our 3D modeling is. I don't know if that answered the question.
No. I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think what every other person has a 3D printer these days, right?
Yeah.
And I've got this. But before you can utilize any of those, you need to have a 3D modeling file, and that's what the CAD is or whatever it may be, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are also services outside, I forget, we mentioned those in another episode, where you can send that CAD file and have whatever you're doing printed, whether it's plastic or even metal these days.
Yep. There's a couple big companies that you can take your file and you can go and get it printed or exactly what you said. And then, their rates
vary, of course.
And they're hard to find too.
Yeah.
That's why I was so excited to bring you on, is we always love to give people a really tangible pathway to get something executed. And it's hard to even know what to Google when you're an inventor. You don't even know what terms to Google.
Yeah.
Well, check the description in this video, whether you're listening or on YouTube, and you'll find Volcreate. And there's a very specific reason that Blake is with us today, is because he's been vetted by the Invent With Me podcast, and he's certified, if you will.
I'll put it on the website. I got the official seal.
Well, I'll make up a badge on a free...
Featured in and certified by.
So, what is your ideal client? I mean, you want to help inventors. That's one aspect of your business.
Yeah.
Who is your ideal inventor, and what do they come to you and say?
Ideal inventors would be, you guys, basically. In essence, if I could take a lookalike audience of you guys,
sure,
that's what it would be. A lot of times it's not. A lot of times that's not what we get. A lot of times it's more infant. The hand holding, kind of want more hand holding.
So let's do an example call. Ring, 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 ring. Hey, Blake, my name's Grant. I have an idea for a new type of utility knife, and it's going to save people from cut fingers. This is going to save people, millions of injuries a year. Anybody who can't see this is frankly stupid because this is the best idea ever. Do I need a patent?
Yeah, no, it's not too far.
I mean, that's pretty much going to be the first question you field.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of people again, about patents, just very preemptively want to get the patent. They want to feel protected, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's coming to steal their idea, which just that's not the case.
It's not the
right?
case.
They want to get protected as soon as possible, but patents are really expensive. And we talked a little bit about it before, but they're expensive to hold up. If you to prove the novelty, to prove the validity, just because you get a patent doesn't mean it can't be taken back. You can be challenged on it. It has to prove novelty. And if you start early and you get a patent that doesn't cover the full scope of your invention, then it might not hold up for if you end up getting to the point where you can sue someone to enforce your patent, maybe your patent doesn't hold up. Maybe you get a new one, but
Yeah. It's a never ending game.
Every part of that is expensive. And it's really expensive after trying to hold it up. I'm assuming people ask you to sign an NDA because I think if people don't know what patent is, people might have heard of NDA.
Right.
And that's obviously something that you probably sign every other day for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've actually had, some people I know go to lawyers to get like a template, like an NDA. I'm sure you guys didn't do that.
No, you can go on
GPT, buddy.
Yeah. So I mean, just a boilerplate NDA is sufficient. In my opinion, I don't think you need any.
We've talked about NDAs, but let's run over NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Yeah. It's basically saying this is my idea. I am sharing this idea with you, and you're not going to do anything with it, or it gives a time and a date and what your idea is.
Yeah. Ideally, a time and a date, because I think that changes the legality of it, can be more enforceable too.
Yeah.
But I think a term makes it more legally enforceable.
Yeah, a term is good. And then there's two aspects to it, I believe. I'll butcher the phrasing, but one is I'm not going to compete, and one is I'm not going to tell anybody. Mm-hmm. So not only am I not going to disclose this, I'm not going to do this. Mm-hmm. So that's a part of the wording. So when you get into ChatGPT, say, hey, ChatGPT, this is me, this is my business. This is what we do. I'd like an NDA. You can and make sure it ensures that no one can take this idea nor share this idea. But yeah, that's NDAs. They're a dime a dozen. They're easy. Please don't pay money for NDAs.
You don't even have to do ChatGPT if you don't know how to use that yet. Just go online. There are blanket NDA statements, and they're all pretty dang similar. It's one step. It's one step to make you feel better about talking to somebody about your idea.
Yeah, and of course, regardless of having an NDA or not, I know,
but no. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that, because people don't understand. They have an idea. We talked about this in episode 6, but they have an idea and they think it's gold right off the bat. I have the golden goose laying golden eggs. All it is an idea in your head or a drawing on a napkin. You have jack squat, okay? The idea is the easy part. So don't get on your high horse. You can call a person like Blake. You can disclose your entire invention. He's got much better crap to do than to go trying to figure out how to market and manufacture and sell and gather funding and continue and build a business and a brand off something he's not even passionate about. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care about your utility knife.
No, and building a product business. I think you weren't here earlier, but Marcus and I were talking about it. Building a product business is such a different beast from like a regular business. Like a 3D modeling company. Building a 3D modeling company, building an engineering company, building a prototyping company is completely different than building a product company.
Yeah. Well, the big difference is you can get a client and generating revenue in a week.
Right.
I can't sell crap for in place, gotten it here at scale, built a sales strategy and a website, So you're sitting on an investment for a very long time. It's just like a construction company. I could throw ladders and drills and saws in my truck tomorrow and start making money.
Right.
That's not how this one works.
Let's talk. We said that people should be a little further along when they come for the prototyping process, or what you can do. Mm-hmm. What can those people do before they reach you to be a little further along?
I would encourage them to do your own research, do what you guys did, go in your garage and fiddle with things, try to put things together. Because, frankly, if you're giving up at that stage, if that's too much, then don't pay for a prototype, because the rest is going to be.
That's a good piece of advice, is that. So there are obviously certain type of people who are going to be more aggressive about going after things. There are going to be the people who's like, I have an idea and I don't want to touch it and I want somebody else to deal with all of it. I think that is such a small success rate of people who just say they have an idea and they want someone else to deal with it fully. Right. And that's when, I think that's the misnomer that people think of licensing. Mm-hmm. You still have to do a ton of work, even if you think you're going to go through the licensing the licensing process. And something like Blake's company comes into that aspect too. Like, whether you think you're going to do nothing with it, you still have to have a tangible idea. You still have to do that. And you're going to pay somebody a lot of money to do that, who may do it or may not, or you're going to come straight to you. You're super reasonable. For those out there, we have vetted a bunch of these different companies, super reasonable for what you're going to get at the end of it and what you can do with it afterwards.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we tried to be. And, our starter package, we try to keep, basically, if you have the funds, let's say, I guess I shouldn't say, if you're not willing to fiddle in your garage, don't do it. I don't mean that. But let's say you have the funds and not everything can be fiddled in a garage, right? Of
course.
If you have the funds, then it could make sense to go from ideation to us. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't have funds.
Right.
A lot of people are really, bootstrapping it. And that's when it doesn't make sense. So just to clarify that point.
Sure. So let's say that I come to Volcreate and I have a prop here. For those of you listening, I'm holding a utility knife. I come to you and I've developed a finger guard, right? Because that's my idea. Not a good one, but it's an idea. And I believe in it and I'm ready to bring it to fruition. Mm-hmm. So I've let's say I whittled this out of wood, but I have the clamshell and I have kind of a rough napkin drawing. Is that enough for you guys to 3D model off of?
Yeah, if you're willing to, it depends. I guess everything depends. But
sure.
Do you want it actually engineered? Do you want just a picture of it? I can make you just a really nice looking utility knife, right?
Right.
Do you want it to be, are you ready for it to be functional? Do you want a functional, right? Because there's a difference between functional and just having it modeled out.
So that's an important differentiation to make. It's like somebody coming to you with a picture of a paper airplane, and I want this. You can make that, but that thing might not be functional. So having something, quote, engineered is actually having you make what you see on their drawing usable and workable.
Correct. Okay. Because if like your utility knife might not follow any engineering principles, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It might not even be possible. Mm-hmm. We could still make it, right? We could still put it together and make it look like something, but it's not going to be engineered.
You can make a flying car on a computer.
Right.
Okay.
But we will work with you on creating your utility knife, right? Hey, Grant, this blade can't extend 18 inches because you only have
this 6-inch body.
Right. But we can work with you on that, and we're willing to work with you on that. And that's kind of, every person's different. So some people don't need a ton of design consultations or anything, but we do actual, we will do an actual consultation with you and help you figure out your design from where you have it.
So there's two places I could approach you at with this utility knife idea. One is I just got to get my grandma to loan me 10 grand.
Sure.
Can you just give me a little video of a rotating knife,
Yeah.
A 3D image,
Yeah.
and that's a yes. And then there's the other guy who is, Blake, I've got funding in place. I have a manufacturer lined up. They want bona fide 3D drawings. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I need you to open this up, make it translated into a 3D drawing, and make it fit snug, and make sure the finger guard is exactly X amount of inches, and make sure that a manufacturer is going to understand this drawing.
Yeah,
Is that
absolutely. Yeah.
And what are the three? You have three main packages.
Yeah. So we have three main virtual packages.
Okay.
Then we have the physical prototyping. The physical prototyping, we don't have any pricing on. We just say, hey, we'll beat your quote or we'll give you $100.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The virtual packages, we have all the pricing transparent. So, and that's not typical, right? So that was one of our big value propositions was, you don't have to book, and we're not going to try to kind of like sell you and then lead you down the process, get you excited about it, and then tell you the pricing, like drop the pricing on you after we get you hot and ready, right?
Yeah.
Pricing's all there. Three packages, one's $499, one's $19.99, and one's $29.99.
And do you find that people in the $4.99 try to push you for information into the next level? Like, can you just do this, or can you just do this?
And the packaging model gets a little complicated, right? For that exact reason, like circuits isn't just 3D printing. Making custom circuitry is not 3D printing. But people are like, oh well, I actually have this like button, that I want a circuit or whatever it is. I want Bluetooth in it. That's not just our 3D printing. Like if you come to us and you want something 3D printed, we can do that. That's really simple. But most of our work isn't just like a 3D print or something, right? It's a little more complex for physical prototyping.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super reasonable. I want to throw out there that we're not getting anything from Blake. What we've done is we've really appreciated. We've looked at a lot of these things. We appreciate what he's doing, and we think he's a great resource for all the beginner inventors, or even the people in our stage. And if you do look for that kind of stuff, the prices are super reasonable, and you're going to get a whole lot for the amount of money you spend. You're not going to find anything for $5. And I would assume that at a super basic, the listeners, they probably want to start with the middle package or even the full package, because you're gonna get that end result. Is that fair to say? Yeah,
in the middle, and our starter package is basically just like a almost Goodwill.
Yeah,
it's not a big. We don't make a lot on it.
Yep.
It's not something that we're doing for a lot of money. The hard part is modeling and actually engineering something. There's more margin for us, just to be completely transparent, right? In the other two. And that is because once you design and engineer something, it's easier to create a video simulation from that, right? Or it's easier to make a photorealistic image. But in order to make a photorealistic image, I have to design it first, right?
Right.
So the hard work is already done by the time you're at that point, and then it just makes it more.
Not all the hard work. The rest is a lot. Like a video simulation is extremely time consuming.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, video simulation. I mean, it depends on the quality, but like a drone. Have you seen our drone?
I saw the drone on your website. Yeah,
the drone we have on the website.
Would you call that exploded view?
Yeah, exploded view. And we have a couple different views for that one. Something like that looks really good, has a logo on it, because the logo has to go with it. That's a very time consuming process.
One thing my Amazon seller asked me for was a video of my product that conveys what it does and how it's better in the first 3 seconds.
Right.
And there's only so much I can do standing next to a truck talking. It's hard to get next to a quad or a UTV, right? So I kind of had through your website was, what if we have a 3D model strap to an anchor point next to a quad, and then zoom in on it, blow up, how this works, pull, gets tight. Is that something in your guys' wheelhouse?
Yeah.
It'd be probably more complex.
It is. It would be a little more complex. So, and that's the thing again with the package model is a little difficult because we want really transparent pricing, but something like that is more complex than just a video simulation. Not 3 seconds. 3 seconds might negate usually the video simulations are a little longer, so it might negate
I think it's
the time.
the first 3 seconds has to really convince people,
Right.
But you can carry on for another
Sure.
8 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that works a little more complex, right? Because you probably want like specific shots. Like basically, I'm not an engineer, by the way.
Neither am I.
Yeah. But from my understanding of what is done, basically like you set up shots essentially. So like
Right.
a video, just like you would in a real setting. The shots that come in and you'd have to zoom and actually like zoom, So that would be a little more complex, but yeah.
Gotcha.
That's a good to bring that up as well. It's like you think maybe what your services are, or people would seek you out in the beginning, but for somebody like Grant and myself who are already a few years into it, and we've hit a place where we need things we don't know how to do, aren't willing to learn a program and try to figure it out, which we would never figure out a 3D simulation, and you don't want to put forth that effort. So don't think that's not a great resource to come to somebody like yourself when you need an exploded view or a video, because you just got hit up for that recently and you never even thought about this whole thing. And now the guy's like, you know what would be great for your Amazon page? This.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're effective and they work.
And to add to that point, let's say you want to integrate more products, right? Like torque strap isn't potentially it, right? Designing the next product, let's say, you do torque strap for years and you find a tension problem. And then custom engineering solutions, we do have companies come to us and just say, hey, can you help with this specific packaging? We need something packaged a certain way where it has, it's medical grade, or it's this, it's that. So we do more custom stuff too. I mean, it's not just engineering, it's not just products,
So if you're listening, it's not just for the inventor or people like us. It's actually big companies are coming to you to help them problem solve or start from scratch with much bigger things.
Right. And there's by far more money in that.
Yeah.
But Invention's kind of where we started, and it's what we wanted to help with,
Right.
So.
Well, that's why we started the podcast. And, anybody who's listening, if you're on episode 18, you're a little bit more refined to this process, and you've learned that it's not really a one-stop shop situation. So if you're at this point in the podcast, you're probably at a really good place to render Blake's services, because essentially you're an ideal customer, because you know that, hey, I can't just walk up to someone with my hands out, please, sir, can I have some more? Like, that's not really how any of this is going to work. You have to meet people a little over halfway. You take them 70%, they'll finish off the last 30%. But if you walk up to somebody with 10%, they're not going to do 90% for you.
That's a great, and we talked about that also, just etiquette of, if you're dealing with a manufacturer, if you're going back and forth, just know that they're putting in a lot of work on their end a lot of the time for your simple ask. So don't just ghost these people. Don't be wishy-washy with these people, because they're having to put work in. And the same for Blake. Don't just come to him or somebody like him with like, this is this and that's that, and you figure it out and blah, blah. It's just, he doesn't make enough money out of this thing to create your product for you and to do all that work. Have your stuff together, know what it is that you're after, and then he can help you more efficiently.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's explain what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Volcreate has fees laid out because they have years and years of engineering experience, market strategy, things of that nature. I tried to learn Fusion 360, as we said earlier. I spent 3 weeks, and I'm fairly savvy, and I couldn't even come close to designing this utility knife in my hand. I couldn't make something clamshell together. Still to this day, with a retractable knife, forget about it. So it is. Don't get the analysis paralysis of, if I spend $900, I'm destitute, and then that's going to be my entire budget. Well, if that's your mindset, if that's the stage you're at, wait 3 months and save up a little bit. And during that 3 months, just go learn free knowledge. There's plenty of stuff you can do in this space while you're waiting to save up to use their services.
Or, like Grant said, go get one of these free programs, try it yourself.
Try it.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's like, we joke about taking the knocks so you don't have to, but I did the same thing. I tried maybe it was a month worth of, and I just didn't have the time or the mental effort to put into learning this enough to make something at all work.
Right. And I mean, even I'm not the engineering side, right? I'm the business side. I've tried to learn these softwares. They're hard, man.
Yeah.
They're hard for everyone.
Yeah.
They're difficult. They're difficult.
Oh, man.
And you can learn the softwares, but that doesn't mean you've learned engineering.
Right.
Of course.
So just because you can, even if you get to the point of making something, you don't know how tension works. You don't know how, like, time under tension. You don't know you don't know what bolts to use. You don't know what will hold. You don't know how much things weigh. You don't know how much pressure things will create. I mean, and there are services, I'm sure you can find other services too that you can get virtual prototypes, right? But oftentimes, what I'm talking about, a virtual prototype is drastically different than a picture, right? And oftentimes they're pictures, the virtual prototypes.
Okay.
I think you should repeat that. It's a great one-liner.
You can learn the program, but you can't learn the engineering behind it.
He really sold it.
Look deep in the camera side.
No, but it was a great. That's really important. You forget what you're paying for sometimes, and you're like, oh, some guy on a computer. It's so much more than that.
Yeah,
and it's his 10, 15, 20 years of knowledge.
Yeah,
that you're ended up paying for, and yeah,
no, exactly. I mean, it's like I think of roofers. Like I can't do my roof.
Yeah,
just because it takes, it doesn't take a ton of time for them to do it, but they have specialized knowledge,
and tools.
And tools and all this. I mean, I can't do it myself,
Yeah.
So
yeah, and for the, I think this is a good lesson for when is it better to spend money and get something than it is to try to do it yourself and spend time. It's the time money thing, right? We've just talked about trying to learn a program for a month and coming out with nothing except the knowledge that you don't know how to use that program when, for a very reasonable amount of money for your services, on now taking it to the next step, whether it's going to look for a manufacturer or whether it's, testing your prototype. You already have the prototype now, or you have the 3, you're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do 2D too. I forgot to mention, 2D technical drawings, things like that too.
When would somebody need that?
You could use it patenting. You could use it manufacturing. Manufacturing
before patenting, you saying, or after?
No, for like patent. You could kind of use it as a basis for
technical
patent
drawings.
sketch. Yeah,
okay.
because patents do the sketches. Or manufacturing. If you need things labeled, like here's how many millimeters this part should be. Right. So we have a 3D model of it. We have a virtual images of it, but then you need to know the specific parameters, right? So you need to know this is 7 millimeters. This part's,
Oh, that's perfect. I constantly send my Keynote drawings to manufacturers, and it's Keynote. It's essentially PowerPoint. I talk about it all the time in this podcast, but that's why I chose, to pursue TorqueStrap, because I can get away with stuff like that.
Right.
But the next time, I'm sending you guys my Keynote first. You make it pretty, and then it goes to the manufacturers. And that'll make them take me all the more seriously. And that, I may pay a couple $100 for that service, but to have the manufacturer look at this and be like, we got to get this contract.
Yeah.
And we got to give them a good price.
Well, that's a big thing as far as like an advantage. I mean, I've talked to some people that work with U.S. manufacturers, and they get a lot of shit, right? Like they get, they don't, to get something that's actual, even to get a price quote, sometimes you get kind of rejected by these,
they won't give you the time of day.
Yeah.
Usually.
So if you have something that's professionally done, it's, this person's serious, right? This person means business.
It was like Stephen going to China himself. It's obviously a much simpler version of that. But when you have your stuff together and you present something that's legible and they're like, yes, the measurements are here. Yes, we get that. We understand what it does. They're that much more willing to work with you, to help you, and to even, we've talked about a lot of manufacturers are absolutely willing to put in a little bit of engineering knowledge, a little bit of stuff, because they've manufactured for their whole lives, right?
Right.
So like, yeah, maybe we could just change this a touch. Are you okay with that? And you're like, yep, let's do it.
Right.
And so definitely have your stuff together. And that's again where Volcreate comes in. They give you that clean, polished, finished, ready to go, whether it's the prototype's drawings or even the prototype.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have a bunch of quips from you guys about Volcreate on our site.
No, that's okay. That's
you guys
okay.
describe it well.
We do this for a living, copywriting and selling copy. No, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just going through my notes.
No, you do that. So this is not really off this subject, but we talked about also what's one good thing that you think a new inventor can put their time into. And we said a one sheet, kind of the value of a one sheet. Does that help you guys out at all or not really?
No, one sheet wouldn't really. I mean, if that's what you have, to describe it, I mean, it can help. Yeah, I mean, it's a description of
Never
your product.
hurts to know what application
but
it's going to go
We're
in.
not seeking one sheets
Right.
for sure. One sheets are more like, I think retailers, kind of that sort of thing, right? Not really for us. Ours,
Yeah. You need a solid laid out idea and hopefully some pretty decent drawings, and then you'll move from there.
Yeah, and you don't have to be an artist, right? Like some of it is. Before we take you on, we want to make sure you're like willing to ride it out a little bit, right? Before anything happens, like before we collect money from you. I don't know.
It's good. No, it's good. It's good faith, and it's why we appreciated bringing you on, because we try to be really transparent, and we don't want people to take classes they're paying for, and we don't want people to do that. And that sounds like a little bit of what you're doing as well. It's like, look, if I can't help you, and I know that you're not going to help yourself, truthfully,
right,
then it's not worth our time, and I don't feel good about doing it.
Yeah.
It's not a...
It's a big part of it is the feeling good.
Yeah.
You don't want to... That's kind of why we got into the industry to help people foremost. And a lot of the industry is kind of...
No, say it. A lot of it is sketchy as hell, and people take your money, and people prey on hope, and they do, especially with Invention. I've got an idea, and they're like, "Oh, we can get your idea out there, and you're going to be licensed, and we're going to do that," and you end up spending $10,000 to we'll get you through the patent process, and it's all these little schniggly take money here,
We'll market it, and we'll fade out after a year if that. Stop responding to emails.
They provide services. They do not provide guarantees.
Yeah.
What you do with the information you get, it's on you.
Yeah.
I've said it before. There was no one in this world trying to make you rich. There's people trying to make you work or to pay them for their services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very few people's priority besides your mom, to make you rich.
Yeah.
That's not their problem. That's not their prerogative.
No.
They're thinking about their own pockets.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, even some of them, I think, structure where they take a percentage in my estimation purposely to be like, look, we're taking a percentage because we believe in this.
Right.
We're gonna get this going. So we're gonna take 20% because we know this is gonna be huge. We know the torque trap is gonna blow up, Grant.
Right.
And then you're bought in a little more, right? I mean, I'm a little more bought in.
I love paying percentages.
Yeah.
For the reason you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they also charge a hefty upfront because they're not going to make their nut on the percentage.
No, they have to charge.
No, once they get your money in the beginning, they don't care about the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, you can find statistics. You can find the lawsuits. You can find all this stuff. You can find the statistics of one company that, I won't say the company, but, processes 500,000 inventions, and 6 of them have gotten licensed. Who knows if that was from the company's help? Who knows what that was for? But
I'm going to repeat that just so we can be clear. There's a large inventing company out there. Their purpose and their position is to help aspiring inventors bring in a product and bring it to market. And the fact is that on their website, there's a disclaimer.
There's a legal disclaimer.
And I'm not going to repeat the numbers because I don't know them, but it's it's single digit percentages of customers who actually make it all the way through and come out ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, so it's 0.0. You know, it's in the.
Oh, it's a fraction of a percentage.
Yeah, it's in the 100.
That's right. It was like out of 806 people. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. We didn't say their name. It's a stupid percentage. Well, it's just hilarious to me. Like, I hope that sinks in for people. If you have an invention idea, you want to take it to a company to license, you have a better shot of getting struck by lightning.
Yeah, by far. Than getting your product licensed. And I, as TorqueStrap, not to toot my own horn, but I've been doing this for a minute. I had a company come at me and say, we're XYZ. We're 50 years old. We do X million dollars a year. We want to license TorqueStrap 2%. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? 2%. This is proven in the market, works, proprietary technology, patented, 11%. You know what they came back with? 2%. Well, yeah.
It's peanuts.
And to specify, I don't know for every company, right, what the license percentage is. But I imagine it's not dissimilar to the big, you know, the giant one that has the disclaimer.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we always like to be able to empower people to do things without people like you to have to come to, because we say you should go and try to do it in your garage. And I absolutely believe that. I think there's going to be such a massive amount of people who do that and realize they need somebody like you, or people who actually come up with something that's nice, that's done. It's just not quite polished.
Right.
And then they come in and you're the person to top it off. And that's even where Grant and I are. I mean, I can go knock out stuff all day long. I made my own prototypes. I've got a finished product, but I'm looking for a 3D rendering, or I want to make my website a little more snazzy.
Right.
And then I come to you and you just clean that up. So
right. Even catalog images, you know, if you don't want it, if you want to see what yours would look like covered in, you know, plastic material, right? If you want to see what yours would look like in this, we can do all that too.
That's really cool to know. So even if somebody's come up with something and they've got it ready to rock, they want to see variations of that,
right?
Then you're a very easy way for them to see those variations instead of building 10 prototypes, one out of wood, one out of metal, one out of... Yeah,
absolutely. And you can even, I mean, you could throw it up, right, as a catalog image and then, you know, order if you know, from your manufacturer, if it's, hey, if people are clicking on this and buying it, or if there's an interest, right, you can see how many people clicked on it when it was out of stock or whatever,
right?
You know, whatever.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, but you know, whatever. There's a lot of ways to use, you know, what we offer. Yeah.
Man, I had an AutoCAD class in high school and I didn't take it seriously. And I wish I had, man. We did the exact same thing. We're like, build a strong box for a ship and build it in 6 different colors. Show that it's stackable. Show all this in each of your different renderings. And I'm like, I'm going to partner with the smart kid and let him do this. And here I am at 33, and I would kill to understand this stuff better. Yeah. Luckily, I don't have to because I have Blake now.
That's true. Yeah.
So let's talk about, we've talked about virtual and 3D pretty heavily. Now let's talk about physical prototyping. So what can you offer me when I say, hey, Blake, I got to put this in the hands of 5 old men with white hair and maybe they'll give me money? What can you give me that's going to best resemble what I'm going after? And this is the utility knife again for you listeners.
Yeah, I mean, we could make it materially finished, you know, CNC the parts and cut it out and make it look good.
Oh, so metal. Yeah,
we could do metal. We typically do prints. And the reason is a lot of our recent clients have been first stage prototyping, but, you know, going past that, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you 3D print in plastic and metal or any other materials?
No, I mean, we can do there's a couple different, so there's SLA printers, which is like it's a resin. So it's a UV light, basically dries this like resin in a sense.
Okay.
And it can be more durable. It can look a little more finished. Like you could probably get away with selling it. Versus like, I mean, and you can with some prints, but prints are a little more.
Yeah, they have the ridges,
and that depends on the type of, you know, you can change that. That's printer settings and whatnot. But if you longer print times, you can get them cleaner. But yeah, so the resin's good for. There's different types of material. So there's PETG as a filament for 3D printers, which is like basically like that's the one we typically use. It's a little more, it has a lot of the benefits of the other main two types, which is ABS and PLA, without a lot of the cons of both. So
nice. Yeah. Love it. I'm going to look up some Reddit comments. We're at the 1 hour mark, which is great.
Wow.
So
try to
wrap it in like 10 minutes. So let's throw Reddit into this system and see what we got. All right, straight from Reddit. This was posted by Redditor Harlem Shake D's Nuts. I thought of a really good invention idea today, but I have no idea how to initiate getting a prototype made. Does anyone have any recommendations on a good source to help make a prototype? Also, should I patent the idea first so that whatever company that makes the prototype can't steal the idea? ?
I mean, that's the exact thing we just talked about, but let's wrap that up.
That's like the pretty typical, like pretty standard
quintessential inquiry.
Inquiry, yeah.
So to answer that question, don't pay to have it prototype now. It doesn't make sense to spend all that money. You're going to wait knowing who to make. Just get your idea down on paper properly with some good drawings, and then go to volcreate.com and have them help you get it to the prototype stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The patent's just, I don't know what it is.
People have what's the word, an affinity for it?
I think it's just fear,
It is,
but they should be scared about taking out, massive loans and paying for a patent on something that can be rebutted in IPR or in court or whatever, if they even make it, which most of them aren't. I mean, the likelihood of making it, there's slim to none.
Right.
It's just, it
blows your mind, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Well, it's fairly simple, but then it's the misconception. It's like, what are they teaching in schools if they're not teaching this? Mm-hmm. That's, we think that way because we're inventors, but most people don't think that way. But yeah. If your first question is, where do I get a patent? How much is a patent search? And who knows a good patent attorney? Pump the friggin' brakes, man. You are a little bit off base. It's the idea. It's the execution. It's the marketing. It's the problem you solve. And if it's so damn good after all those steps, then it's the patent to protect it.
And I'm not opposed to getting a search. I'm not opposed to that because it could play a role. Mm-hmm. But there's also USPTO. You can go to their website. You can do your own basic search. You can do your own advanced search. I'm sure there's tons of YouTube videos on doing a search.
Oh, yeah.
At least do that first.
And Google Patents.
And then, because you could find your exact thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's say Torque Strap was already made.
Sure.
You could have found it before paying for anything.
Yeah.
You just needed to take a little bit of effort to go to USPTO. Website, click on, public patent search or whatever.
And those patent searches are often like $1,000, right? You pay like
for a bona fide one by an attorney's assistant.
And what they're going to do is the same thing you could do if you just put forth the effort for the most part. They might be better at it, but they're going to utilize the same resources.
The thing is, whether you're good at it or bad at it, you're going to find arguable similarities and arguable differences.
Sure.
The key word there is arguable. I think novel was a word you used earlier. Yeah. That is so subjective. This is a problem-solving game. If you go on just Google Shop and no one is really solving the problem you intend to solve, in my opinion, it's fair game. And you're no one. You're small. Yeah, who cares if you get sued?
Well, if you're this guy on Reddit, if you do get a patent, and let's just say you hit the lottery. Like, you get a patent, it's perfect. It's a perfect utility patent. A big company just starts doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do? You're going to sue them? They're going to take you to IPR. They're going to destroy your patent. I mean, it doesn't matter.
They'll shred you a new, you know what.
And which sucks as a construct, but it's how it is, you know?
Well, the thing is, stay small and be sneaky for as long as you can be small and sneaky. And by the time you're important enough, your idea is important enough for anyone to care, you're probably going to be making $500,000 a year, and then you can, look at these things. And God forbid you do get sued. It's not like you're snap your fingers, this lawsuit's over and you owe X amount of dollars. No, you kick the freaking can down the road. Do your own research. You hire your own lawyer. You keep trying to defer the court date, what have you. I mean, it's such a circle jerk and a long process. And I don't know. I plan on getting sued 3 times in my career. I just plan on. I don't give a rat's ass. Sue me, okay? Right now I have nothing. You can have it. When I do have something, I'll put it on a payment plan.
It's going to get an assault charge.
Yeah, moving violations, weapons trafficking. All right, the next question on Reddit from Literature Informal 47. What a name. Essentially, I have a few product ideas that involve technology, but I don't know what components they would even begin to need or how to design it. If I have a product idea with technology in it, is there anyone or company I can talk to that helps you figure out what is needed to create it and how should it be designed? No words.
That's the exact problem.
Isn't that funny?
Isn't that?
That's why I brought this up.
It's crazy. It's so backwards of
statement is that?
Yeah, I mean, and they might just be naive to what it's like the real world, right? But you have to figure most of it out yourself. You know?
Yeah.
Like you can listen to people, you can listen to advice, you can listen to things, you can take it, but at the end of the day, it's you. You have to back you,
right?
And you have to be ultimately responsible for your success. Which I think is why the licensing also sounds so good to people, is because, I don't have to be ultimately responsible for my success.
Because we want to try to answer it. I would say if you have no knowledge of technical or engineering stuff, you might try to find an electrical engineer or an electrical engineering place. Maybe approach them. To be dead honest, I don't think any of the 3 of us have a really solid good answer for that. And I'm sure there are a lot of people with that same thing. I have something that flashes and makes a noise, which is that.
Well, in this example, we could help this, right? We could figure out what they're talking about.
Because in a conversation, maybe something.
Yeah. Play for whatever. But again, this is the exact person it would kind of be and not to be rude or curt to them, but we wouldn't take on. Just it's too fresh. It's too
and you're doing too much of their work at the end of the day, right? Your company is not.
It's not even that. It's he's going to produce a result that they're like, oh no, that's not what I was thinking, and then the customer's unhappy, and then you're feeling unfulfilled, and no one really won. Mm-hmm. But if I came to you, and I'm going to get a little bit more precise with this. Okay, Blake, I have an idea for a new cell phone. It never gets hot. I partnered with an electrical engineer in college. We've ironed out all the kinks. The thing is, we just want it to go in a really nice, sleek, slim outer shell with a good glass screen, right?
Yeah.
So can you help me with the outside shell and a good bolting system so that we can lay in our card and our chips and make this all look great, like a beautiful Steve Jobs special?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even less than that, strip back, you don't have to partner with an electrical engineer. Just put forth some effort, learn about something, learn what is the electronics you think was, hey, I think this, I've been messing with a breadboard and I think that, and an Arduino board, and I think that we could create that, that's fine.
Okay.
So
come even earlier and we'll hash it out.
That's fine. We'll hash it out. It's just, it is a little bit of prospecting at that point for us, right? If we're going to take you on,
I think somebody like that question though is coming from somebody who has no clue what Arduino or breadboards are. It's
right. That's the thing. You got to put
this garage door opener, but I want it to make a cowbell ding or whatever.
Exactly. That's a good point. I mean, like almost nothing is completely new, right? So like, oh, this kind of works in a similar fashion. I was kind of, hey, I took apart my garage door remote, or hey, I was thinking kind of like, I looked up what's in garage remotes. It was this. I think maybe if we hooked this up to the garage, something like that.
I like
That's
that.
fine. Yeah,
we talk about that a lot, butchering existing stuff, because you're the first caveman who invented a wheel. It's just an innovated rock. You're never truly original in that sense. All right, awesome. Well, the last one, I wanted to help this woman out. I found her on Reddit. I was going to address the question, but it was too complex. I don't think it directly associates with you. I think it's something all three of us can figure out. All right, so from Tracy, disclaimer, I apologize in advance if this post isn't the right forum. Please direct me. Blah, blah, blah. Backstory, I am a dancer with a sock invention, modification in parentheses, to help dancers like myself, as well as anyone in the yoga and Pilates community. I was sick and tired of messing my feet up when I danced, so I came up with a sock that could help me with and provide protection while giving me grip on the dance floor. I am in search for a prototype to see if it would do well in the market. I have made a poor attempt at making a prototype. The cheap version of my invention actually worked, and I would love to make a more viable version of it. I would like any advice on how to find a way to create that prototype and possibly make a mass production of my idea, as I feel it would do well in the dance, yoga, and Pilates communities.
Well, that's almost a perfect example of someone who's in their infancy that has done work, right? Who's
that's why I
to
like
put in the work.
this question.
That's the exact. That's not lazy. It's descriptive. She's obviously put forth effort. That's exactly what I would, be rooting out for.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
To actually answer the question, I mean, I think there's a lot of things you could do, right? In textile, you probably would know.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I kind of clung to it. It was like, I'm thinking, look, Tracy, you've already made a prototype that you said, it's cheap and dirty, but that's what prototypes are. Yeah. If it makes sense, the beauty of your industry is you can find a local seamstress or even a Chinese manufacturer of socks on Alibaba, and you can send them your dirty sample and just say, please just make it beautiful, solid white out of cotton, and I'll pay you $300 for it. Yeah, that's the most expensive sock you've ever seen in your life, but you can hold something in your hand. Right. Now, if you aren't really interested in that, I think you could go to Blake at Volcreate and say, look, I need to be able to present this and in a 3D manner, show why this sock is better. It's not hard for you guys to draw up a sock.
No, or even make it, if you need like, hey, we're dancers and we need there's actually nothing like this that has a harder surface on your front toes, something like that. That's fine. Sourcing materials and helping you with that too. Actually physically prototyping it, we could help with too. But like you said, I mean, with something like a little more basic like that, there's a lot of things you could just do yourself, right? Like even if you go to a local, even if you have a grandma that knows how to sew, you know?
Go read her question again real quick. What is it? What she made a prototype. The prototype was okay, but what's her next big dilemma? She needs a better version, or she needs engineering on it?
I am in search for a prototype to see if it would do well in the market. I have made a poor attempt at making a prototype. The cheap version of my invention actually works, and I would love to make a more viable version of it. I think she means her prototype actually works. Mm-hmm. But the backstory was she's a dancer. Their feet were getting torn up, sick and tired of messing up their feet.
No, I get all that. Yeah. So I think it's not for her to do something that it could do very cheaply is probably to find a seamstress or somebody who could make like, let's say 10 pair of that better version or cleaner version of her prototype and give them to your friends who are dancers and test them out for X amount. And you're going to get feedback from all those other dancers. Like, this is great, but I can't do, I don't know all the technical terms for dancing, but I can't do 2 spins on it or get bunched up. If I try to do a spin, then it bunches. And you're going to learn really quickly if your prototype is valid there. And then if all these 10 people they're like, this is great and we would love these, then you can worry about getting really solid and looking into manufacturing.
Yeah, and to build on that, kind of if you do go that route, you could take a couple interesting approaches, even with your friend, to get real feedback, and you could have an extra pair just with you and go, hey, I found these great things that really work for me. Try them,
right?
But it's not yours,
right?
Like, you can make it not yours.
And unbiased, you get people be more willing to be like, these suck,
right?
This is why
I don't care about these,
right?
Versus, hey, you really like these, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a great idea. She's ahead of the game, and it sounds like she has a working prototype. That's great. I would take that, make some more if you can yourself. If you can't, then just find somebody, a seamstress, to make you some more, and then when you're ready to rock, and
Now, people's alarm bells are going off right about now because she's not protecting her invention. So let's really quick. I'm going to go through the steps to fully bring this to market and become a millionaire. And I'm going to do it in really fast terms. All right. So you've got your prototype. Okay. Your friends liked it. Great. Take that prototype, go to a manufacturer, have 300 made, 1,000 made, whatever. Now get yourself a GS1 barcode. And then right before you're ready to start selling it on the trademark yet, now you can go to episode 6 of the Invent With Me podcast, figure out how to file your provisional patent. And now you can sell that sock on Amazon as a brand with a barcode for a year, and you are pretty well protected. Now, in that year of selling that on Amazon or your website, you generate some income. You say, hey, I really like this. I'm going to fully patent it. If you don't want to do that, don't do it. Just keep on selling it. You lost your chance to patent it, but who really cares? This isn't a patent game. This is a market game. So you give yourself a cool logo. You start building social media. You're really liking it. Stores are starting to take interest in your product. Now you can wholesale this thing to stores who buy it by the pallet full. Okay, so that's a quick and dirty version of how I would go. But notice the first thing that we said wasn't, oh my God, get a patent. Don't do that. All right, well, that wraps it up for me. Is there any final thoughts or notes by anybody?
And just capping it off with, we have Blake on the show. So why is he that if you are a new inventor who's maybe a touch ahead of just having an idea and nothing after that, and you need a good working model, whether it's 3D and you're going to use that to make a prototype, or you want help making an actual prototype, Volcreate can help you do that. And then also for people like Grant and I who are well ahead of the game, but also need some amazing graphics and some cool 3D simulations for our websites, that's also what you do.
Absolutely. And real engineering, for startups, mid-sized, if you need real engineering work, that's, we have this problem we can't solve, custom solutions. Definitely open to that too.
Cool. I love it, man. Well, thanks so much for coming in today. I'm going to put a wrap on it. Listen, guys, this has been episode 18, the Invent With Me podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow the show on whatever platform you may be on. Remember, guys, Marcus, Blake, and I took the punches so that you don't have to. So at the end of the day, take advantage of that. And hey, go hit up Volcreate because they know what to do next. We'll see you guys on the next one.